Hi everyone, welcome to my presentation where I will be discussing immigration, citizenship, and integration in Italy. I will be highlighting challenges within the current system of Italian citizenship legislation, providing an overview of alternative policies, sharing personal testimonies, and ultimately working towards a solution. The key purpose of this presentation is to address Italian citizens and legislators, educate on the context of citizenship in Italy, and de-racialize Italian citizenship, which has become a struggle over institutional racism and racial exclusion. I'd like to begin today by sharing some relevant statistics to frame our discussion today. Firstly, between 600,000 and 900,000 children of immigrants are without citizenship. So clearly the impacts of Italy's restrictive citizenship laws are quite far-reaching. Also currently, the children of immigrants in Italy compose approximately 15% of new births in Italy, or 10% of the country's total youth population. Without citizenship, these children of immigrants can't apply for jobs through the state system, they cannot vote in local or national elections, and they must live in Italy on the equivalent of a work permit or student visa, or a long-term residency permit. And lastly, the number of children with non-Italian citizenship has grown by almost 300% since 2002, from a total of 288,950 to over 1,087,016 foreign minors in 2014. And yet, despite facing political disenfranchisement, immigrants make up around 10% of the Italian labor force, taking on large roles in agriculture, construction, and domestic work. And according to a study by the Fondazione Leone Montresa, immigrants contribute approximately 9% to the national GDP. Now I would like to share with you some information on the history of citizenship in Italy. Ius sanguinis, or the right of blood, only became enshrined in Italian law in 1912 with Law 55. The New Nationality Act, which required Italian citizenship only be granted to citizens of Italian citizens, regardless of place of birth, was enacted in response to increasing division within the Italian state and the need for a common thread of identity, with that common thread becoming simply whiteness. In fact, legal restrictions prohibiting the acquisition of citizenship by the children of white Italian men and black African women from the Italian colonies in the Horn of Africa were not overturned until 1952, demonstrating a key example to support the historical efforts to exclude other racial groups from assuming Italian identity. Citizenship in Italy remained fairly consistent and straightforward until the influx of immigration in the 1980s and 90s, shifting Italian demographic diversity and putting it sharply at odds with Italy's homogeneous national body. And this led to people who were born in Italy being systematically disadvantaged by policies that enshrined this biologic composition of Italianness. And the 1990s were a really key moment when racial nationalism became structurally embedded within the context of citizenship in Italy. So new legislation was enacted, specifying that the children of immigrants automatically inherit the nationality of their parents at birth. On reaching the age of majority, or 18 years old, they subsequently have only a 1-year window during which they can apply for Italian citizenship, meaning that children born in Italy to immigrants have to wait a longer time than immigrants themselves before they can actually apply for citizenship in Italy. Additionally, to apply for naturalization, applicants must provide proof of continuous Italian residency and pay an application fee of €250, among other application requirements. And when compared to the previous 1912 citizenship law, the new 1992 legislation made it easier for descendants of white Italians who had never lived in Italy to acquire citizenship, while making it more difficult for immigrants and their children to nationalize. And therefore, immigrants who settled in Italy in the 1970s, 80s, and 90s were now raising children on Italian soil who, despite having spent their entire lives in Italy, were not legally or socially recognized as citizens. Italy's increasingly exclusionary standards of membership are ever-shifting and rather ambiguous, where at any moment new assessments of language or dialect abilities, cultural competency, birthplace, length of residency, or phenotype could be enforced. For example, the 2018 Security Decree imposed new Italian language proficiency requirements, increasing the fee for Italian citizenship applications, and it also doubled the waiting period between filing an application and receiving a decision from 2 to 4 years. and additionally it introduced a new series of conditions under which Italian citizenship could be revoked for naturalized citizens. While jus sanguis is still the dominant principle governing the acquisition of citizenship in Europe, no European country has absolute jus soli citizenship like the United States. And Italy has among one of the most restrictive nationality laws in Europe. So given the historical context of exclusion and discrimination, the need for reform of Italian citizenship law is more urgent than ever. So on the surface level, it's clear that a lack of Italian citizenship has cost all immigrants and second-generation immigrants potential jobs and educational opportunities. Additionally, they lack representation as they cannot vote, and they are unable to travel easily to other countries, which may restrict their opportunities to visit family. However, deeper than those challenges lies critical barriers that impact and target people of color in Italy. For example, many face paralyzing identity crises and feelings of inferiority when compared to naturalized citizens. Rather than support immigrants, legislation in Italy surrounding citizenship only serves to invalidate their identity further. As Celia Bartoli, professor at the University of Palermo, stated, "For the non-EU citizen, the condition of being a foreigner becomes like a biological fact from which it's impossible to escape. Citizenship itself has become racialized. It serves as a barrier to accumulating rights and therefore reinforces institutional racism. Italian citizenship law implicitly emphasizes the idea of quality over quantity. It is a common experience among children of immigrants to feel like they need to prove their Italian identity. Children of immigrants are forced to display themselves as Italian through and through, even more so than the children of Italian citizens, only serving to reinforce an inferiority complex and social hierarchy. So if white Italians are not forced to endure tests of cultural authenticity in order to be recognized as full citizens, then why should this be required of the children of immigrants who are born and have grown up in Italy? More so than ever, it's imperative to reevaluate the context in which citizenship is framed in Italy. What does citizenship even mean? Is there a real difference between being born on Italian soil and long-term residency? And is there a difference between being children of immigrants or naturalized citizens if both are born in Italy? It's clear that citizenship is ambiguous and differs greatly from country to country. So why is Italy so rigid on one form of citizenship? It's important to critically evaluate this within the current policy in place. While the current citizenship laws in place were fundamentally put forth to foster unity within a divided state, in an increasingly globalized world, it's no longer sufficient to define citizenship by one race alone. Italy's citizenship laws presume that the children of immigrants are fundamentally foreigners, despite having been born on Italian soil, having attended Italian schools, and speaking Italian as their first language. Now, second and even third generation immigrants face the constant fear of being deported to a country which they may have never visited and whose language they may not speak comfortably. Addressing the tangible challenges faced by immigrants in Italy is a key step in combating institutional racism and promoting equity in the lived experiences of all Italians. In order to highlight some personal examples of the impact of Italian citizenship laws on people of color living in Italy, I conducted an interview with Nagest Castanelli. Nagest shared with me her own experience as a Black woman living in Italy. Nagest was born in Ethiopia, where she lived until the age of 3 when she was adopted into an Italian family. As a result of being adopted, she was able to gain Italian citizenship almost immediately, something she highlighted to me as a distinct privilege, as most people of color in Italy aren't quite as lucky. I also asked her about her Italian identity and how it's been influenced by other Italians and their perception of her. I'd like to share with you some of the interview now, in order to highlight some of the distinct challenges and institutional racism faced by people of color in Italy.
I don't feel less Italian actually, but some people may think me like that. Yeah. But actually, when I've been in Dublin for my Erasmus experience during my bachelor degree, I discovered to be so Italian when I went abroad, basically, because no one has asked me why I'm Italian in Dublin, but my accent sounds very Italian. My way of life, my way of cooking, my style is a lot of Italian, yeah. But and I spent most of the time to demonstrate to people that I'm Italian. Even in the airport, I just met a girl that we talk about the queue and so on. I say, yeah, you sound very Italian. Yeah, of course I'm Italian. So, yeah, so the people want to say that most of the time. Definitely believe that um, people who born in Italy should get the Italian citizenship. But the problem is that if you don't have the Italian citizen, you basically doesn't exist until you're 18. That's a lot of time. So you can vote, you can be represented, you can. I mean, if you want to do a travel, you may need a visa. I've been working in school, and we did school trip, and there was a kid that had to check the visa for the school trip, even if he was born in Italy and everything, and that's too much. 18 years old to get the Italian citizenship is too much. Because yeah, I think that's related to inclusion and stuff like that. Because if you can vote, you can say your opinion. So the policy will not based on what you need. I don't think the citizenship is the only way to have been perceived as Italian, but I think this is the first step. I mean, for the public space, because people can work about their stems, their feeling, their identity, but when they, you know, get in touch with other people every single day, and they remember that they are not enough. We did a small sentences like, yeah, where are you from? Where are you from for real? They ask me almost every day. So I came from the north of Italy. I just say, no, I should say Ethiopia because they want to know where I'm from due to my color. Mm-hmm. And that's so stressful. So if and I have the Italian citizenship. So, but I'm still Russian reside. But I think that I have more power anyway to reply to people. Um, yeah. So I think the public space is quite important to work on the, the, the citizenship, but also is a cultural problem. So, like if we make law, we can change as well the culture.
Following my interview with Najest, I conducted in-depth research on potential policy reforms that are aimed at fostering increased belonging among people of color with the goal of not only legislative change, but also, as Najest mentioned to me at the end of the interview, cultural change. One key step that is being advocated for is Jus Culture, which links citizenship for children born to immigrants or those who arrived in Italy as children to their time spent in the Italian school system. In essence, those who arrived in Italy before the age of 12 could become citizens after 5 years of school, while those who arrived between the ages of 12 and 18 could acquire citizenship after living in Italy for 5 years, completing a full scholastic cycle and obtaining an educational qualification. Many activists have emphasized the importance of this reform in framing the pluralities of Italian citizenship, challenging the current very narrow definition of Italian national belonging that has been enacted in citizenship legislation. This avenue of reform has the potential to expand conceptions of Italian identity and deracialize citizenship through more inclusive, culturally founded standards. Just Culture is an important intermediary step, as it seeks to foster increased cultural pluralities and highlights the importance of cultural integration. However, the ultimate goal for reform should be jus soli, which grants citizenship to anyone born within a country's territory, regardless of their parents' nationality. This principle, which is the citizenship framework employed by the United States, is the most inclusive for citizenship because it actively combats institutional racism by redefining who belongs as an Italian citizen, ensuring that all children born in Italy have equal opportunities regardless of their parents' origins. The standards of citizenship are clear-cut and non-discriminatory. Adopting jus soli would be a powerful step towards dismantling exclusionary practices and promoting true equality and social cohesion in Italy. People have a right to citizenship in the place where they were born and have called home for their whole lives. However, reframing Italian citizenship laws is only the first step. As mentioned by Najest, citizenship is bureaucratic. It doesn't mean that you feel that you belong. Other means of fostering belonging continue to be important in dismantling racism through an anti-nationalist approach. Advocacy work by G2, an organization of second-generation immigrant advocates, has also been involved in a series of national media campaigns that are intended to challenge the public perception of who is Italian. Many Italian activists and other people of color in Italy have come to understand citizenship reform as something much bigger than simply an expansion of rights. It's a means of combating centuries of racialized national exclusion. Given the recent 2015 Mediterranean refugee crisis and subsequent changing demographics all throughout Europe, it's critical now more than ever to reevaluate citizenship not merely as a question of rights, but also as a tool to redefine culture surrounding race in Italy. As the status quo of homogeneity continues to change in Italy, more equitable citizenship rights are the clear path forward. In doing so, the country of Italy faces new and exciting opportunities to enhance and strengthen Italian national identity. Thank you for your time, and please feel free to contact me with any questions regarding this presentation.